All right, guys, it's the 3 worst things you can possibly do when you show up to a customer's job site that will almost guarantee you do not get the job. And these are 3 things that are more common than you would think. Make sure you stick around for number 3 because it's the one I'm guilty of doing the most. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into today's video. Real quick, before we get started in today's video, we've got an exciting announcement, merch. We finally have merch at the Dirt Monkey shop. In fact, here's one of our new hats. We've got new t-shirts and new sweatshirts over at the Dirt Monkey shop. We've never had merch before, so this is the first time ever. I'd love for you guys to just bop over there, check out some of the stuff we've got, and give us some feedback. And if you like the designs, let us know by buying one. All right, but let's get into the first worst thing that you can do when you're out on a job estimate that will guarantee you probably are screwing things up. Timmy, what's the worst thing that you've done that you've noticed consistently loses you customers right out of the gate?
Not following up with a customer, not getting your estimates out fast enough.
So when you say following up, can you actually break that down for me? Is it after the initial phone call?
Yep, or after you send your message, or make sure they got their email, because sometimes it goes into their junk mail.
Yeah.
And you lose them that way. And if you didn't follow up, you just missed out on a potential job.
I think a lot of customers nowadays, especially with the shorter attention spans, are turned off if they don't get a phone call back within the same day.
Okay.
Even the next day seems to be kind of on the fence for some people, but then they want their estimate right away. It's like the military, hurry up and wait, right? They want that estimate as soon as they possibly can, and then you also, I found out, you've got to follow up after they have the estimate. What are you noticing?
Yep. Yeah, you got to follow up with them, or they're going to go with somebody else that did follow up with them.
Sometimes that follow-up is the key element. That's the key. Yep. It's not even about being the cheapest anymore. It's about being the guy that they feel the most comfortable with. Because we're shouldering the burden. They're looking at hiring us because our job is to alleviate a pain point for them or to accomplish their dream.
And then when you go out to a site and you give them a vibe of who they're working with right away. So, I mean, I like to just shoot with people.
Yep.
In the first, you make a nice connection with them.
Yeah. Yes.
First, and then we, hey, what are you looking to do here? It just feels natural to just.
That's a key element. In Costa Rica, whenever we were doing land development, it was customary to spend 1 to 2 hours with the family. So if we were going to go buy somebody's farm, it's not about, hey, we've got $60,000, $100,000. How many acres do you have? Is it developable? None of that was on the table. In the very opening, you talk about soccer, you talk about tradition, you talk about how long the property's been in the family. You would make a connection. That was customary in that culture before they would even consider doing that. And I brought that to the cities. Intentionally I did, but he did it naturally. He's great at just trying to connect with a customer and getting a real good vibe for what they want and what makes them tick. You just do it very naturally.
Yeah, it helps. It helps to just that type of communication with them. I enjoy it, actually. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have the 20-minute rule on our jobs. And the 20-minute rule, I always said, I had the hardest time with Blaine, who was a little bit of an introvert, with the 20-minute rule. Timmy, I had a hard time with Timmy on the 20-minute rule, the opposite way. But the 20-minute rule was, I always liked my guys to spend 20 minutes with the customer per day. Just talking, not about the job, not about anything. Just if you could take 20 minutes to connect with that customer every day, your complaints go way down. Because imagine if like one of your grandkids came out, or one of my grandkids came out, or your kids, your nephew, whatever, did a job for you. You're not going to chew them out because you're connected to them. You may have some concerns, but if they don't know you from Adam and they don't like the way you got that boulder placed, well, you're not their friend.
Right.
You're the guy that put the boulder in the wrong place. But if you spent over the course of a week, 20 minutes a day or 1 hour BSing with that person, and they know where you go to church and they know what kind of food you like to grill and you know all stuff about them, they're going to look at your boulders and stuff like that and they're just going to go, remember when you put that in wrong, Bill?
Yeah. Or they come out and like, hey, can you move the boulder on the bottom there? Laughing, like, yeah, sure. And
yeah.
They joke around with you.
It's a good way to connect. That's huge. So that connection, fundamental to your close rate. And I've always liked to have a 1 in 3 close rate. I don't want to close too many jobs. It means that my price is too low. I don't want to lose too many jobs. It means my price is too high. So a 1 in 3 close rate to me has always been a fundamental. I've also always used the 1 in 200 ratio for marketing. So for every $1 I do in marketing, I should get $200 in work in return. Most guys won't tell you about this, and if they do, they're more on the line of a 1 in 1 or a 1 in 2. So if they spend, $50 in marketing, they hope to get $100 in jobs. And I think that's just very bad. It's not the right ratios. 1 in 200 is a ratio I've always used. And now I don't know what we're spending on marketing, but it's next to nothing because we've got the marketing dialed in. Your jobs speak for you. Word of mouth speaks for you.
Working with the customer, you get a bad vibe from them from the get-go, even though it's a job you could have. You could be dealing with that job for years if you're not, you're kind of vetting them as they're vetting you to see if it's somebody you want to. So it is good to communicate with them that way to kind of see who you're working with.
If you want to work with them.
Right. Because there's been some in the past, that you're just like, oh man, if I would have only just kept driving,
Yep.
But
made more money.
Yeah,
if I drove past the job.
You drove past the job, you would have. Yes, sir. So.
Yeah, because some customers are that bad, that picky, and they want to get stuff for free. You're not a person. You're something to get something from. Some people treat each other like that. What's that job you screwed up on, Alex?
I went out there and talked to the customer and came up with a master game plan for their backyard, building the walls, stairs, and we were out there talking and BSing, and I went to go measure everything up. Well, he stayed out there when I was measuring it all up. Well, I never measured up the stairs, and then left and wrote the quote up and sent him the quote without even including the stairs or anything. And it was a tighter job where he was looking, he wasn't looking for a deal or anything, but he had his budget. And when I went out to do the job and the stairs weren't included, they didn't fit in his budget, and he wanted the stairs. So I just ate it.
You ate the stairs?
I ate the stairs. I didn't make anything on it, but he was happy and we were happy. But
so that would be a matter of how you format your bits, your boilerplate formatting of your bits.
Yep.
So that you get all of those details in there and you have all of your exclusions. This job includes up to a certain amount. This job does not include X amount, but you limit the quantities. Yep. That way there can be no misunderstanding. Let's say you're going out and measuring a sod job.
Yep.
And you say, we're going to grade out up to 900 square yards of area for turf installation, and we'll install up to 900 square yards of new sod on your project. Yep. That means when the customer comes out and they're interested in having you do just that little extra over there, well, it's extra. One of the things that I want to caution these guys on is do not screw up your bid and hold the customer accountable for your screw up. It's like what Alex just said. He tried to upcharge the customer for that. That's a lowball, scumball tactic. Don't be that guy. You may end up eating some stuff, but that's okay. But don't be the guy that intentionally gets his foot in the door by lowballing a job, knowing that some stuff is not included that other people may have included. I think that's just despicable.
I think so too, especially when you're bidding apples to apples, where a customer wants this project and you miss a part, and then they sign with you, they go through the process, maybe you pulled permits, and now you're already so far invested that they'd be restarting that entire process over if they were to actually go with somebody else, because now you're X amount of dollars higher.
And a lot of times these customers leverage everything they can, especially in a hardscaping job, because it's their dream, that's what they're trying to accomplish, it's their goal. So they'll put, and they're not telling you that. I mean, they'll give you the budget, but what you don't realize is everything that they've been doing for years up to that point to get to that point. I mean, it's an honor to be allowed to help complete their dream. And when you go bass backwards on them and you say, oh, by the way, we didn't include this, this, and this, that's almost like spitting in the face. If I was a customer, I'd want to fire them right away. And there's contractors that do that, and to me, though, I can't stand those guys. I can't stand them. Tim, you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I wanted to add that too. You know, just when you get in and lowball like that.
Yeah, we're here to take care of the customers. You know, if it's that much money that you lost, if there are ways where maybe you upcharge another portion of the job, and maybe that's not where you're gouging the customer and taking advantage of it, but you're making up for a little bit of that lost money by upcharging that project. You know,
on valid upcharges,
yes,
because
valid.
And now the reason we've got to qualify this statement is because a lot of people are willing to give stuff away for free while they're there, because the way the customer will often approach you will be like, oh, by the way, since you're already here, could you just do this for me? They downplay it, but they want it done. And that's a valid charge that most contractors are not, they're caving. They're saying, oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah, we can throw that in there. But you don't have to cave when it's something valid and it's a request after the fact. But if it should have been in the original proposal and you missed it, that is on you. Do not go back after the customers. That's just my personal.
I think we're all with you on this. We're here to take care of our customers and not take advantage of them.
And I say it very adamantly and firmly, because if you're watching this channel, hopefully you are working to a different level in honor and integrity and helping customers with their work. My street's going to be very clean.
Been through here a couple times.
Yeah. All right, guys. Back in the day, I was making the same rookie mistakes that a lot of guys were making. I wanted to come off as an expert, and I thought that's what would make my customer comfortable. Well, there is a balancing point between coming off as a know-it-all and coming off as an expert. A know-it-all barfs out all of this knowledge and information onto your customers, trying to impress them. And that's the feeling that I feel like I've screwed up on more than once. And instead of trying to initially just make that connection and looking and being professional, you try to do it by impressing them with the technical aspects of the job that you think they would want to know. Really, what customer really wants to know is, are you going to be there for me? Are you an actual expert? How much do you know? They don't know what you know, but they don't care either. They don't care if you use 3/4 clear rock under your base, or how deep the drainage zone is. As long as you're doing it right, that's all you've got to do. So one of the rookie mistakes I made was barfing out too much knowledge, trying to impress these guys, and two, talking over them. Instead of allowing them to talk, the more you can get a customer to talk, I firmly believe the higher your close ratio is. So I would try to impress them and not allow them to get their ideas out. I needed to shut up more and listen a lot more. And whenever they ask the question, then I could throw in just enough knowledge that would allow them to figure out that, hey, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. But then I should switch it right back to them and allow them to express their desires. Remember, this is probably a project that they've thought about for 6 months to maybe a year. And you're initially meeting them, you're going to become a partner in this job for them. So take the time to try to find out, where did this job come from? What is it that ultimately they want to do, and how can you become an instrumental piece to that so that they really look forward to having you out on their site. That's my 2 cents. Shut up more, listen more, and don't barf knowledge out onto your customers, because it can be a complete and utter turnoff. Try to have a nice balance between professionalism but actually caring about your customers' needs. That's a huge thing.
I would say the best thing to do on the job site is communication. They talk to you and you're there to hold their hand for whatever they need, you know. If it's picking out material, picking out stone, calling them back, double checking, do you have any questions about this estimate? Do you have anything you want me to go over thoroughly? They'll tell you if they need more information on it or not. You think it all looks good? Great. You can move on from there. You know, communication is what I feel like when I sell jobs, the communication is the biggest part. I go above and beyond, and you need to be able to feel that customer out. Are they tire kicking or are they serious?
Absolutely.
Yep.
One of the things that when you say tire kickers, I like to qualify my customers right out of the gate on the phone.
For sure.
And I realize this because if you don't qualify their, I don't know what you guys are looking at. If you don't qualify their budget and their expectations, you could be going out and just wasting your time. And a great example was I had a customer that he wanted I think it was a 200-foot long retaining wall across the entire back of his property, and it was 5 foot high. So we're talking about 1,000 square feet retaining wall. It turned out to be a $20-some thousand project. And I spent a half a day being out there measuring it up and doing everything. And then at the end of the day, I turned in my estimate, and he's like, oh, I thought this was going to cost about $5,000. That's what I have for a budget. And it's like, what? Why am I even out here doing this if I'm not pre-qualifying my customer's budget and I'm pre-qualifying their expectations? So I tell them, like, the easiest way to pre-qualify, because you guys will probably ask, how do you do that? I'm an artist. I can create just about anything you want. I need to know how big of a canvas and what colors we're going to be working with. And the canvas is your budget and the colors are your materials. So if you want me to paint you a picture, you want me to transform your yard or do something like that, I need a budget. I need to have some ideas, pictures of things you like, you love. What are the things you can't live without? What are the things that would make your life better, but maybe we could sacrifice to make sure that everything blends together? And I've closed so many more jobs where it's just a matter of going out and collecting a check. It's just sell them as soon as they call. When they pick up the phone, I'd sell a job left and right, over and over and over again, just by doing that simple thing right in the initial phone call. I'd never mess around without getting that budget right out of them.
Right. Sometimes the customers are smart and they don't say their budget, because there's a lot of companies that will be like, I do this job for 20 grand, but the customer's budget's 30, so I'm going to come in at 28 and be under their budget. So a lot of times for a lot of these homeowners, they don't like saying their budget explicitly over the phone. You just need to understand if they understand the scope of work, is a big thing. But I always think selling jobs too is working with their budget. Okay, you have X amount of dollars. What can we do with your budget? You need this done. How can we make this work? Is it multiple phases? Do I do this portion here, set the bones, and come back next year and finish it? Or do we dial back the project and give you something that you can meet in the middle? But there's times where I tell a customer, you don't have the budget, you're not going to get what you like, save up. I don't want to waste your money or your time and give you something you're not going to love in your backyard for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Fundamental. Those are phenomenal. I've done many multi-year projects where customer couldn't afford it 1 year, but by the time year 3 rolls around, they've got their dream built because we become their strategic partner.
They appreciate that because it's the real life. Stuff is expensive.
Yep.
Our prices have gone up because things have gone up so inflated so much, where customers are, they don't understand what things cost nowadays. But when you tell them that we're willing to work with you and we understand that you have a budget, I can't spend that kind of money in my backyard, so I don't expect you to be able to do the same, but let's work with what you have and give you something you'll love.
Usually just getting the bones of it in. If it's a retaining wall and they want a patio and fire pit and all that, well, maybe you can do the retaining wall now because they're having issues. And then down the line, now next season, you got a little money for a patio? Great, go put a patio in.
Right. Doesn't have to be, got to do it now or forget it. One of the things that don't practice where there's money on the table. It's the worst possible thing. What I mean is, if you're not really comfortable talking to customers and you're a little nervous before you go out to meet your first customer, don't. That's not the spot to try to refine your sales technique. You can be a salesman anywhere and everywhere. Every single place you go. I like to tell this story about going to Subway, and you got the sandwich artist behind the counter, and you look at that sandwich artist, and that person stands in that one freaking spot making sandwich after sandwich after sandwich for person after person. And when you go there during a busy lunch hour, wait till it's busy. Try to do this when it's busy, because you want to do it in front of people. Try to get that person behind the counter to smile or talk to you about anything, and try to get them to engage in a conversation. You're practicing your social skills. You're practicing your ability to pull information out of a person, so that when you go to a customer's job site, you're no longer practicing. It's just rehearsal. You've already done it. You've done it with the sandwich artist. You've done it wherever you possibly can. I don't care where you are. A couple of the things that I found phenomenal to help me get through those learning curves. One is Toastmasters. I was a member of Toastmasters for 3 or 4 years, and you have to get up every week and speak. It was phenomenal. And another one was BNI or something like that, business networking, where every week you had to get up and speak. And I was only looking for places where I could speak in safety, so I could try learning how to get my words out without stumbling over them, but in a constructive environment where people would actually give me feedback and say, hey, you need to improve this, that, and the other thing. Toastmasters was phenomenal. They're everywhere, and it's like $45 a year or $50 a year. I can't brag about that enough. But do you guys have any more information you want to share?
No, I think that's it.
That's it. All right, guys. Well, we hope this video's helped you out. We hope our mistakes has helped you to not make them, but it's okay if you do, because we all grow, we all get better. And anytime something bad happens, look for the good in it, because I promise you, if you do that, you will absolutely grow past all of the people that do something wrong or make a mistake, and then they dwell on it and they let them cripple you. A mistake is an opportunity to become better. So don't be afraid of them, but practice where it doesn't matter. Subway, gas station, Kmart, Walmart, talk to whoever you can. Try to engage as many people as you can in a conversation, and enjoy the process and the learning curve. But that's it for this one. God bless. Go get them, you guys. We'll catch you on another one.